So I used to live on an island, and this is a unique place. It's beautiful, it has stunning features, and I think many of you have lived there too, because this island's called Website. And this island sits next door to this other island called App, and that has another island next to it called Big Build, and you get the idea. We have lots of islands, and these are all beautiful and unique, but they're all separated. Now, in daily life, in our office, we get a lot of island requests. And again, this might be very familiar for you. So clients or potential clients would call you up and say, hey guys, can you build us a website? And you go, yeah. Can you build us a campaign? Yeah. But in the end, they're all websites. And for them to be truly successful, there is more to be solved, and there's more to be designed, and there's more to be engineered. Because customers of our brands, of our clients, they don't stay on that island. Right? They are island hoppers. We create single islands, but if we only create single islands, we lose those customers. And that's, in the end, in the business that we're in, for our clients to design more than that. So we're in the business of designing customer experience. Am I clicking? We're in the business of designing customer experiences. So there's Tom. He's trapped on his island, and Tom could be one of our clients. And we have to make Tom the best customer experience possible, because today, customer experience is the best way to, or the only way basically, to truly differentiate from a brand's competitors. It beats price, it beats product, it beats place, because if you offer a better customer experience than your competitor, people come to you. So basically, we need to be our brand's Wilsons. Everybody see Castaway, or am I getting way too old? Right, so we need to be their Wilsons. We need to be our brand's, our clients' survival guide, so to speak. And for us, it's important that in the meantime, we can still make the best work, right? And yet at the same time, that's not the only thing we want to do, because we want to get paid for it along the way as well. Let's be honest. We love all the appreciation. I think everybody here, you wouldn't be here if you wouldn't love your job. But at the end of the month, it starts to get a bit tricky if there's no money coming in. All right, so unless you're a really rich philanthropist, in which case I would like you to raise your hand and then come to me, and then we'll have a talk over there. So that's the goal. We all want to make the best work, and then, yes, get a little paid for it as well. And as said, at DPDK, we call that exceptional digitalism. So we've been around for a while. You may have seen some of our work. We put it up every now and then. I hope you voted. If you didn't, I wouldn't hate you for it. If you did, I would love you for it. So we've been around for 17 years, almost 18, coming up, our birthday. Well, you might have seen us around on awwwards.com, as I said. So making stuff like this, and like we're all trying to achieve, in the past, gave us a lot of messy problems. Messy problems in the sense of when we think of one of those projects, one of those islands that you want to make award-winning. What do you do? How far do we stretch? Where do we go in terms of putting in extra time, putting in extra time, maybe some more training, maybe some more bugging your team members. But it was always very difficult on finding one single approach that would enable us to do that every time and time again without reinventing the wheel all the time and without losing a lot of time, and also with developing teams. You will notice that in agencies, it's always important to have lots of talent coming in, and you need to have your knowledge transferred to that talent, and they bring their knowledge in. But at the same time, people need to tap in at some kind of approach that helps you to design and to produce and deliver some of the best work you've did all over and over again. And it shouldn't depend on people coming in or leaving what the quality output of your agency should be. So what we wanted to do is kind of search for answers and try to take out potential lag in projects, kind of If they weren't the shine projects, you still want them to be great, and the shine projects to still be great. So we would be looking for answers and trying to answer the kind of problems of our rapidly evolving industry. Right? Technologies coming and going all the time, trends going global in an instant. So we were searching for an approach with enough space for lots of innovation, yet this kind of sturdy and robustness so that it's repeatable. So basically, we had to stop living on an island. So for clients, when they call you with that question of that island, hey, we want a new website, let's say, there can be a bunch of reasons behind it. But one of the most obvious reasons is that there has become this, they found themselves in a gap between where they once were and where they now. I think that's very recognizable. So your client would say, we had this idea then and then, we had that mission, but since then we've evolved, and just looking at our website, it doesn't feel like us anymore. Does that sound vaguely familiar? You would have to basically fill that gap and present themselves again with a new kind of, let's say, cutting-edge website that would have to fill that gap. And that brings you to something you have to be very mindful on. If you come to a lot of airports, which I do, you hear this a lot, kind of mind the gap, but this is a real warning also for us. Kind of, because let's say we start to design. We start in this design process, and you dive into this website, and you make this really nice, beautiful preloader, right? You go all out on it, thinking, hey, I could post this later on awards, and it turns in really nice. So let's say you take the logo, you make a beautiful animation from there, working in the latest trends, and it turns out everybody liked it so much that in the end, it makes it to the new animated logo of the company, because it just fits so well with what they asked you to fill that gap. That is, on one hand, that's a great compliment, and on the other hand, it turns out that you were fixing a problem that wasn't part of the original question. You were fixing a branding problem instead of the website question. And as we noticed over time, many times, if we would ask for the style guide for a company and you would look at it to see what the capability was to determine, to fill that gap, it was basically around that area of capability. Tumbleweeds in the desert, you would have to elaborate on that style guide. There would be no icon sets in it, maybe no patterns, lots of stuff missing for you to be able to do your job for that project first. Right? So that left us with somewhat of a problem, because it eats away of the budget. It tears away the budget basically in half. So what we decided to do is, from a certain point, is to first assess the capability of that brand style on delivery for that brief, because you have to be honest to yourself and also to your customer, because everything you do, everything you design is usually, or lots of times, in a fixed budget. And if you have to answer and have to solve all of these other different problems, then the product design itself, it just takes away from so much from your budget. So now we start with brand design. And we assess the capability. We dive all the way back into even stuff like mission and vision if we have to. Because if the gap that brand is trying to fill is so large, there's probably something wrong or lacking in their mission and vision. They have to adjust that to where they think their identity is now, but their image is not. So we have some workshop sessions, we have an approach for this, some steps, and we work our way through the mission and vision and promise. We write up a personality, a tone of voice, and copy. So all that stuff, even basically extra before anything visual goes on, actually. So it's more strategizing behind the brand, and then we start developing all these different types of brand assets. Now, I was talking obviously in terms of budget, and you go like, oh, but wait, you said it was eating away budget, and now it turns into even more. This is more of a fun fact or an insider fact, and don't tell your clients this, but the moment when you start tapping into their brand, somewhere there is another jar of money opening up because you're touching up on the brand. This is not now, this turned into some website project, as it's usually dubbed. Go like, oh yeah, you guys are doing the website project with the marketing team. And now suddenly you're tapping into their brand design. And that gets a lot of C-suite attention going on. Learning, don't touch the logo. I mean, that's an old one, but still apparently, or as we noticed, a very important one. So at least changing it and then build on it. So you don't have to cut your budget in half to do all this kind of stuff. So this all leads to a new style guide that then can deliver on brief and they can fill the gap. And in that sense, you're not just designing a website, but you're future-proofing your client's brand. So basically, once we got that covered, then we go to the next one. And we as designers, we go to the product design. And from a designer standpoint and technologist standpoint, whenever we deliver that, let's say that website, that product, we think of it all as a 1.0, right? Something that needs to grow. It needs to evolve over time, because we've been into this project days in, days out. We spent nights. There is so much more to do on this project than we can do in scope. And then a lot of the times, you actually do that. That there is so much more for this product to mature over time, right? This needs to mature whenever a website launches, and I'm specifically talking for big builds or bigger builds, that depending on new insights that come along, new opportunities, the user data that you start to gather once it's online, business strategy can change, product releases can come along. All of these things make it necessary for a project to be able to evolve over time. But that's not how many of the budgets of your projects work, because usually that looks a bit like this. It's a bit disappointing, but you can get a huge pile of money at the beginning of the project, and then somewhere you go live, but towards maturity, we would see, in our experience, that the budget would have faded. But your request would be something like this, because you've spotted so many opportunities and so much stuff to do, and you go like, hey, we're live, let's keep it moving. And your client goes like, live? Hey, thanks, bye-bye now. And you go like, wait, what? That was for us usually a very unsatisfying moment. But then it dawned on us that it wasn't our client's fault, but it was our fault. Sorry, Ryan, I skipped Ryan Gosling there. So it was our fault because we were too late with raising the discussion, only going after going live with the project. And then we would get in touch with the client and say, hey, now we finally released this. What do you think of, we should do this for next steps, and what about next year? So basically, we didn't box it up as in what do we do now, what do we do later? We were just too late with that discussion. Now imagine, now we go to the car, imagine buying a new car. So you're spending all of your money on this car. You're choosing its colors, or actually, so 2 colors is an illustration for one of our latest projects. You're spending all of your money on this car, right? You're choosing the options, you're choosing the colors, you're choosing the rims. You decide to go, a bit extra on those leather seats, and you go like, yeah, this is exciting stuff. I'm just gonna spend my money like confetti. Ooh, it's so nice. You marvel in it. You get in, you try those leather seats, and go, yeah, good decision. Cost me a bit more, but still good decision. You rev the engine, and as you want to shift gears and want to drive off, somebody goes like, no, and that's the person that was selling you the car. And you roll down the window, and the person goes like, hey, you like it? It's great, right? But it's even greater? You should buy all these other options, and then your experience will be even better. Like, what would you do, right? I would drive away as fast as I can from the upselling fool and go like, thanks, bye-bye now. I would be that, that other side. He raised that discussion way too late. So the solution, obviously, at least theoretical, is very simple. You pull that discussion forward. So you pull that forward and you try to reach your gaze as far as you can, and that's what we do now. At the beginning of every project, we look as far ahead as we possibly can early on. And we take the client along on that journey. I don't know where the client is in this journey, but he's looking at some great products there. So in the early stage, we find as many insights as we can. We go all, design thinking and all that. I won't elaborate on that, but we definitely do go business side, we go customer side, and for the business side, we have a look at business objectives, at KPIs. We talk about basically the boring stuff: competition analysis, business strategy, marketing strategy, product strategy, et cetera, et cetera. And we find out everything that we can and need to know about this client and about their future. And then we offset that with all this data from all of their target groups. So we personalize them. We gather target group data, both quantitative and qualitative. We might have interviews early on. We define, at least we try to define we get as many insights on their goals, their expectations, their frustrations, and then we place everything into context. So the product that we're designing, where does that sit in the whole customer journey? Where do people come from? Where they're going to? Can we get them off that island, please? What island are they coming from? Where are they going to? Can we build a bridge? And then all that insights, they go into something that we call a product experience map. And this is all just the plain text stuff. We're not even designing just yet. So the product experience map is a textual blueprint of all the insights that we've gathered. We define those, or we divide those over key site areas, which are very clearly definable areas in that product experience. And we place all those goals and frustrations and what users are thinking and what they're trying to achieve and what obstacles are. We block those all in. So we cluster all those all over those different areas for all the different target groups together. And then you start thinking about what would be design solution for the design solutions for that. So down the road on that map, we think in solutions. So we look at the challenge at the top, and then you design the solutions. And from those solutions, you help them progress seamlessly through those key site areas. Solutions, they turn into epics, and epics are the first things that go onto the backlog. So all the priorities, the prioritized epics, you then move to your backlog, and then you have an actual product that you can start to design and develop. Now, usually with this, since you have so much data, there's way more data, there's way more design opportunities, again, than in budget. Now, this is where in the past you would go overboard, but now since we're pulling it forward, we can say, hey, wait, we don't have to throw those away. Those are all valid research-based design opportunities. Let's put them on a product horizon. And a product horizon is something that for us is really paired to a product experience map. It's a more long-term strategic vision on what will go on in the maturity of this product. So we'll fill this first with basically everything that we didn't get to do in the first run, and define that as the actual 1.0 product. Kind of like if we have all of that, that's what we intended to set up, but it might have been out of scope at first. And then we fill the rest of that product horizon with big industry trends coming up, with the stuff that we got from the interviews with the business, kind of when our new product release is coming up, what should we do with that, what's emerging tech, should we do something with voice capabilities, all that kind of stuff. And you define your strategic goals and the outcomes, and you start clustering them again and say, hey, together with the client, what do we do now, what do we do later, and what do we do later? And then you iterate on that a couple of times per year with your client, and that's where you really start maturing the product from the start. Now, once we know theoretically what we're going to design, the question is still, what are we designing? Because this was all theoretic. Everything was text apart from some designed models. So it's time to start designing. So this is for a big chunk of our team, and for you, I think in this process as well, you go like, oh yeah, goody, everything's possible, right? But that's also a bit of risk, because if everything's possible, and you start just looking at the trends that everybody's looking at the same time, then it kind of where are you focusing? Where are you trying to find your inspiration? Focus and not just look at all the inspiration that the same people are looking. So find your focus. Do that first. Trends go global in an instant now. So you have to be aware of that. And it's not just confined to the designer and tech realm. Our clients nowadays are really, really savvy. You have to really kind of get that. And if you don't find a focus, they will find a focus, and they will outvision you in a second. And you'll just be executing their design vision instead of yours. Now, if you don't have the right focus, if it's, you have to ask yourself, is your design focus, is that informed by all that research that you did, or is it informed by what you think is the most relevant trend that you're looking at on awwwards.com, right? Is there a branding fit? You need to acknowledge that if you start slightly off the mark with your design and you're developing this for months, there's going to be a huge gap also in there. You're going to be ending up missing the mark. And if you don't stick to that focus with the team, you'll end up having these, review battles of opinions basically within the team and say, yeah, I know we like this, but this just looks better. And then you have a risk that you will wander off of the intended goal. That something looks better doesn't mean that that trend fits better. Maybe you just didn't work it right the first way. So find the right focus and stick to it. And my advice would be to work with design principles. That's what we do, and we've been working this out for years because there's no one formula to do this. We did this with like 4 principles, 2 principles. A principle has 3 words, it has 1 word. Look it up, there's a gazillion ways. The trick is just to find the right way of working with this for you and your team, and sometimes we notice even it's project dependent. Are you doing that campaign, or are you doing a big build that makes a big difference, for instance? But at least work with it, and then keep them simple. Let them provide your focus, keep them simple, really short, and keep them human. And then surprise, we always do 2 sets. Specifically for the bigger projects, we just say, on the first one we go like, this is the one that we think it should be, and then we just park that and say, okay, and now what could be a complete different one? And then we map that onto the product experience map. So you have the same stuff going in, but 2 completely different things going out. These are very early. These are actually the earliest design concepts for that client of that animated Mercedes called Forward You. It's a fintech. It was nominated only yesterday. Please vote. And these were the earliest design tests. So these are completely different designs, but they're based on the same user research and all the same data points in the product experience map. Now, I have a lot, and then you have a presentation that's interesting. You have the presentation with the client, and you have the presentation. You flew all out, and at the end of the presentation, the clients, they're very quiet and they say like, "So what's your favorite?" And that's always a trap, right? What's your favorite? That's the beauty pageant thing. That's what you really need to prevent. Because I have opinions about these, and you will have opinions about these. But right? There's so much to say as pro and con, but the thing is you have to test it. So what we do is we pre-test already in this early stage, both with clients, but more important with their customers. And then we get that feedback and we work it into a C version. So we write new design principles and we work it into a version C, which is then, this was a first motion prototype from there. So you see a lot of stuff from the second, but also stuff from the first, and generally some new stuff as well. And then and this is a screen grab from the final product as it's live now. So basically, we would say, hey, we like to mix it up. We make UX and design cocktails, like A plus B equals C, something like that. Very simply put, it's like that. In reality, it's a bit more difficult, but still, you can make a great cocktail. So you have the recipe for a great cocktail, and cocktails are great, so what can go wrong? Well, it depends on the content that you put in. Because if the content really hurts your eyes and teeth and everything, the experience will still suck. So we vote make content great again, and that means finding that tone of voice and doing something different with it. So don't just write your copy, but write your copy towards the target groups, right? This is an assessment where you tell this investment company how daring you are. And since they're really writing, they're aiming for a quite young target audience, we write a specific tone of voice and make it different than all other banks and investment companies because of that tone of voice. I don't believe I've ever seen a run for president or a space travel goal that you can set in the future with any other bank. And then there's the imagery, obviously. So I put this in because, hey, there you go. The most used images ever. I mean, I'm not going on, well, I am going on the stock rant, but that's not anything new. And yet you would get these guides going all over again, kind of. You see this still on a lot of websites. We still get this, and you get this every day, right, in your style guides. And I know budgets don't stretch forever. It's like this is every other customer representative. There you are, baby. Like, yeah. Like, I don't know, she's working for so many different companies at the same time. Like, toothpaste even. It's like, it's horrible. Anyway, so so many different, so many the same photographs. She just, it's such an interesting photograph. So at least do something with it. I mean, we don't always have the budget, definitely not. You won't always have the budget, but please do something with it. Find at least photographs in the same style for your client, have your client on board with that, and work with it, do some filters over it. And please, please, please don't ever sell your images to a stock company. I don't know, I'm on Shutterstock. I have no idea why, and nobody will ever use this. Like, don't do this. Okay. More serious. So for the rest of the content, I'll keep that concise, but go like strategize the hell out of that. Content is more than your social editorial calendar. There is a bunch of stuff that you need to think of and discuss with your clients. Why are we doing this content? Why do you think that social is relevant? Why do you think that channel is relevant, et cetera, et cetera? What do we do? Where do we leave it? There's a whole thing. There's not any client that we work with just yet that actually knows where to keep that and what the logistics are and who's actually responsible for it, who does what, and when do we do it. All necessities to create and deliver great content, both on your product and specifically, obviously, leading to it. And then, since we already have done usually so much on product and brand, it's quite easy to also make that great content for it, because a lot of our design team can, by this time now, can really dream, you know, what that should be, and it's quite efficient to deliver all this content. So there's a big brand video over there, and then we created from that video. I mean, be smart in this, reuse stuff. Again, you don't have the budget all the time, but then if you have the opportunity to think of one video, then make all the stuff that you can take into your website and into your YouTube formats and onto your social formats as well. Think about all the written content. Maybe you have to put the client at work. That would be, that would come in very handy. And this is actually a client that has been very, very, very professional on working on all this kind of stuff with us. And that's where you get to deliver that real great customer experience that's very consistent and unique, and it just looks the part. So reuse often for your budget purposes. So wrapping it up, mind the branding gap, go all out and then box it up. You get what you focus on, and please, please, please make content great again. And that's how we think of that kind of the customer experience and finding that sweet spot. If you get to manage to do all three of them, you will reach that sweet spot and you will be able to stay there a long time. I hope you can do something very valuable with this. It definitely helped us in the past, and it's now. Thanks, everybody. Come say hi. I'm Michael.